Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Find Your Peak Fitness podcast. I am Megan Morensky and today we're going to talk about how to increase your bone density. Now this is a weird one. So increasing bone density is a byproduct of what you eat and how you train. So we're going to cover all things training, nutrition, and also what to look for in terms of your physique and your expectations of what that looks like when you are trying to increase that bone density. So first things first, we're going to start with some training. So a few tips that you can apply to your own training, how you approach your training, and how often should you do them. So when it comes to this style of training, you should be strength training. So that means resistance training, adding on weight, so lifting dumbbells, doing things like squats, bench press. It does not mean going on the treadmill for 30 minutes 3 times a week. I mean strength training for a minimum of twice a week for 30 minutes if you're new, but make sure you are adding weight, so loading up and stimulating the muscle. When you stimulate the muscle, that's what triggers the bone density increase, okay? The first thing you want to do is have an emphasis on loading. It's not, like I said, not repetitive low impact motions such as walking or cardio. It's putting weight on the bar. I just listed off a couple of compound movements, and that's where you should start. Start with the compound lifts, the squats, the deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, and perform that 2 to 3 times a week if you're new, and then increase from there. Start with moderate loads and increase as you go. Okay, so it's not grabbing the 5-pound dumbbells for every single movement. Challenge yourself. You should feel your muscles working. Okay, it's not just going through the motions, chatting with your buddy at the side. It's increasing the weight, breathing hard, breathing heavy, doing a certain amount of sets and reps, and then resting. Start with 3 sets, 10 reps, and just increase it over time. Like I said, it doesn't need to be crazy, all these weird lifts that you see on social media. Start with the basics and just aim to improve from there. You can also add some impact and power work. So things like jump squats, box jumps, hopping, skipping. But if you're new to strength training, if you have some underlying health conditions, or you have certain joint issues, introduce these impact and power work gradually, or modify it if you have low bone density or any joint issues. But start with moderate to heavy loads and just increase over time. So ditch the cardio, ditch the low impact training, get lifting weights. You're not going to be bulky, you're not going to start seeing major gains. You're going to be increasing your muscle mass and increasing your bone density as a result. Like I said at the start, it's a byproduct of how you train. As a personal trainer, I have dealt with many clients that deal with bone density issues. So things like osteopenia and osteoporosis, very common in women. I was amazed at how many clients approached me with that issue. Before I became a trainer, I was thinking I would deal with majority of people that want to lose weight, kind of tone their booties up and things like that. But it's amazing when people come to me with the goal of strength training or increasing strength and increasing their bone density. And it's amazing as well when I suggest that they have to strength train, that they look at me and be like, well, can we not just I need to go on the treadmill, I need to get my heart rate up. And I'm like, no, you do not need to do that. It's the opposite way you need to do. You need to strength train. Cardio is not bad, it absolutely has its place, but if you're looking to build muscle, build your strength up, build your bone density up, or even if you're trying to get a more pleasing aesthetic look, you need to lift weights. I am someone that's absolutely been in this trap before. Not that I've ever struggled with bone density, but when I first started wanting to focus on my physique and how I looked and get quote-unquote fitter, of course I went straight to the treadmill, straight to the elliptical machine, and I would do 30-minute sessions, and I started every day, and then I didn't do it for ages. And it wasn't until I learned and made my mistakes that I was like, holy crap, lifting weights is where it's at. Regardless of your goals, unless you were training for a marathon or some sort of cardio event, most of your time spent in the gym should be lifting weights. So how do we have our nutrition complement our work in the gym? And this is a huge one. And a lot of people struggle with this. Nutrition is by far the biggest challenge for people. And when I became a trainer, this is exactly what I wanted to offer. I didn't want clients just to come in and train for me for 30 minutes, for an hour, and then go home and their nutrition is crap, they're stressing out, their sleep's poor, because that means that hour is it's just a total write-off. It's about what you do outside of that. So those other 23 hours, how are you spending your time? What are you fueling your body with? So if your goal is bone density, I'm going to go through a couple of things that you should focus on first, and then you can kind of let it go from there. The first thing is calcium. So calcium, I'm sure many have noticed before because we've all been brought up and, drink your milk for strong bones. I was definitely in that kind of era, and it's true. There's calcium in milk, and calcium does complement bone density. So you want to aim for 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day. You can get that from things like dairy, fortified milk, and leafy greens. If you do struggle to get it through your diet, you can supplement it if needed. Okay, but calcium is absolutely one of the pieces of the puzzle when it comes to building bone density. There is a way you can track that. If you are someone tracking your nutrition, then you will be able to click on whatever app you use. Usually it will break down all the micronutrients that you're consuming, and calcium should be one of them, so you can track it that way. But just ensuring that you're getting a wide, varied diet, you should be fine. And just incorporating some calcium-rich sources in your diet, and you should be fine. The next thing is vitamin D, or vitamin D for the Americans. You can get this from sun exposure. If you are someone who is living somewhere cold and you don't see much sun exposure, or if it's winter time, then maybe you can supplement this as well. This is something I do in the winters when I'm not getting as much sun, and also I've noticed when because I'm no longer in the sun from playing golf anymore, I'm working indoors a lot of the time, training clients, I am definitely not getting as much vitamin D as what I used to. So I do supplement that. I take a multivitamin every day, and there is a little bit of vitamin D in there. What vitamin D does, it helps with the absorption of calcium. Now, if your vitamin D levels are low, calcium intake becomes almost irrelevant as the absorption is impaired. So view these as like they're complementing each other, okay? Just like a complete and incomplete protein. If you have two incomplete proteins that are built of different amino acids, but you pair them together, such as rice and beans, they become a complete protein. It's the same with vitamin D and calcium. You need the two together to work in coordination. The last thing, which is no surprise, is protein. So this is something I've spoken about before, and I know it's going to be a recurring topic, is getting enough protein in your diet. Protein is crucial for your bone matrix. It's not just about building your muscle, it's also in your skin, your teeth, your nails, and your bones. So making sure that you're consuming enough protein in your diet is absolutely crucial for bone density. How much protein should you have? So, if you're one of my clients, you're going to be getting a minimum of 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. I like to get my clients up to 1 gram per pound of body weight, or target body weight if they also have fat loss goals. Especially if you are lifting weights, definitely aim to get 0.7 grams per pound of body weight from protein. If this number sounds too shocking to you, too high, and you're like, there's no way I can get that, I'm eating like 50 grams of protein a day, then that's your starting point. Don't be demoralized by it. It's not going to go away. The worst thing you can do is just ignore it and walk away and carry on living your life. It's only going to get worse. It's a downhill spiral from there. So get your starting point. I recommend tracking your food intake. If you don't like tracking and it's quite tedious to you, then track a weekday and a weekend. And that's your check-in. That's okay, I'm roughly getting about 50 grams of protein a day, and maybe 70 on the weekends because I'm consuming more calories on the weekends. Your average is 60 grams of protein in a day. Aim to progress from there. Have the goal of, okay, I'm just going to start adding more protein in my diet, and I'll do this for a month, and then you'll check in again. Take a weekend, a weekday. Great, now I'm 90 grams on a weekday, and I'm all the way up to 120 on the weekend. And then just aim to just keep on progressing from there. It doesn't need to be this grand jump and all of a sudden you're just eating like tons of chicken and drinking protein shakes, okay? Any big changes with nutrition or diet or exercise never really has good results, okay? Have you ever tried to make a big change in your life? Has it ever stuck? Probably not. So you want to make sure that you're making small changes over time and just build up and just aim to progress week over week, getting that 1% better. That's what it's about. None of these drastic changes. Just like if you were losing weight, if you see too much weight loss, you're probably going to rebound if you see it too quickly. So making sure that you're just making small changes over time is less shock to your system, less shock to your mental system as well. and it's going to lead to you being able to more likely to stick to this change and make it a lifestyle, making eating high protein just how you live. I'm currently consuming I think I'm averaging around 160 to 165 grams of protein per day. Have I always been like this? Absolutely not. It was really funny last night, me and my husband were out for dinner and we were talking about, how our diets were like when we were kids and our favourite foods. And when I was a kid, I despised fruit and veggies. The only veggies I would eat would be mashed potatoes, baked beans, which are not a veggie now, and the only fruits I would eat would be a banana on occasion, and an apple if my mum would peel the skin off. And even then it was a push. Eventually, when I was about 12, 13, my grandma would dip raspberries in sugar. Then I would eat them. But I didn't eat fruit and vegetables until my sophomore year, so my second year at uni. I don't really know what changed, just my taste buds changed, and then I was vegan a year later, which is incredible. But even then, my protein intake before I was vegan was pretty low. And when I turned vegan, that's where I learnt the bulk of my nutrition, how to cook and what's actually in my foods. And I knew that being vegan, it's more difficult to get complete proteins in your diet. I actually got more protein than I ever did. So for the vegans out there, it is possible. You just need to do your research and track. But the point of the story is I was never at a point where I could eat a ton of protein. And I just got better and better over time. And then I'm no longer vegan now. But I know what's in my foods, and I find it very easy to hit 160 grams of protein per day. I'm sure at one point I was higher than that. About 6 months ago I was up to 175 a day. Granted, my calories were higher, I was in a bulking phase, but now that I'm decreasing my calories, or I'm slowly coming out of a cut, my protein is still remaining relatively high. So this helps with your muscle retention, but also goes towards bone density. Circling back to what I was trying to get across on this point was just get your starting points and go from there. Okay, don't sweat about it. If you are literally getting 20 grams a day, that's your starting point. Okay, everyone's on their own journey, they've got their own challenges, and just aim to get better and better each day. It's actually amazing once you learn what's in your foods. This is another part. A lot of this it's not really the application, it's the learning. Once you learn what protein sources are and where you can find them, it's pretty easy. So do your research. If you do need help, feel free to reach out. I've mentioned this before, I'm an online fitness coach and in-person personal trainer. I do nutrition as well, that's a huge part of what I do. So if you do need help with anything, getting to your goals, increasing your bone density, increasing your muscle mass, losing that body fat, whatever your goal is, please reach out and I'll be able to help you. But making sure you're getting enough protein in your diet, find your starting point and just grow from there. Complementing that with adequate calcium intake and vitamin D. All of these, calcium, vitamin D and protein, can all be supplemented if needed. So what actually leads to low bone density, or how do we know? One of the biggest things is being too lean. So that's having a low body fat percentage for too long can impact your bone health. So of course this is a little bit more common in females, especially as we age. But even athletes that are at a low body fat percentage for a long time, they're chronically under eating, this can absolutely lead to bone density issues. Chronic under eating or aggressive dieting is one of the leading causes of it. So if you're a constant dieter out there, then please take the time to sit down, reassess, and really be honest with yourself. If this diet is actually working for you? Do you feel your best? Do you feel good? Do you feel like you're getting stronger? Do you feel like you're leaning down? Or are you just constantly fighting with your body and you're feeling weaker as the day goes by? As I mentioned before, women are more prone to low bone density issues such as osteopenia or osteoporosis. Not entirely sure exactly what causes this, however, I could guess, and that is because women tend to, when they do train, they are not strength training. Also, we are almost praised for being small and lean and less is more sort of thing. So we're always got the pressure of trying to be thin, to be skinny, which can cause many women to undereat over a long period of time. So combine the low calorie or aggressive dieting or chronic dieting with the lack of stimulus on muscles and actual bone. So we take someone who's chronically eating 1200 calories a day and does the elliptical 5 days a week. That can absolutely affect their bone health. Even take the cardio out of it, that person is not getting enough calories to build muscle and also to build their bone density. And all those calories are just going to daily functions, going to their brain so they can just function, going to their lungs, going to their heart. It's not going to go firstly to their bones or their muscles. Okay, it's going to just keep them alive. So to recap, our body weight is a good indicator of how quote unquote healthy our bones are. Well, it could be a good indicator of our overall health, but absolutely in terms of our bone density and muscle mass. Another good thing is menstrual cycle. If you're someone doesn't have a regular menstrual cycle, that's a good indicator of low body fat percentages. Like I said, it's very common in contest prep, in athletes, but it shouldn't be something that should be chronic. So what should you expect if you're trying to work on increasing your bone density? Maybe you've just been diagnosed with early osteopenia and you want to do something about it. What should you expect? So like anything that I've spoken about in the past and any type of goal that you have, do not expect a quick fix. We are dealing with the human body. So anything quick never really has good results. What you want to focus on is being consistent over time. Realizing this is a lifestyle change, that you're dealing with the human body. So aiming somewhere between 6 to 12 months to see true results. And I know some of you be like, oh my goodness, that is awful. That's such a long time. Consider how long it took for you to get here. Guaranteed your bone density didn't decrease in the span of a year or 6 months. It was years upon years of just slowly diminishing. So to be able to build it back up takes time, it takes consistency. But is it worth it? Absolutely. You're dealing with something, you're dealing with your bones. Your bones hold you up. So being able to accept this is going to have to be something that you stick with for at least 6 months. That's bare minimum depending on who you are and where you're at. But getting ahead of it is one of the first things I'd consider. But if you are someone who has recently been diagnosed with it, then really sit down and realise that this is going to take time. But it will be absolutely worth it. It is quite scary to see a lot of women deal with this, and I believe there's a lack of awareness around it before and how to prevent that. So even my younger clients, I'm encouraging them to strength train. There was a study done, and in females our bone density decreases at the age of 30, which is really scary. That's pretty young. So if you're no matter what age you are, if you are not doing any strength training, then I encourage you to do that, and just start paying attention to your protein intake as well. If you are someone who's a little bit older, will you get benefits from this? Absolutely. I had a client who has battled osteoporosis for a number of years now, and she signed up with me just over a year ago, and I got her strength training, and even the first few weeks it was a little slow, but as soon as I mentioned eating protein contributes to bone density, she was all ears. And she recently got results back, and she is now barely in the osteopenia range, which is just incredible. So can it be prevented? Absolutely. Can it be reversed? Absolutely, but the right practices need to be in place. It cannot be reversed if your diet isn't on point and if you're not strength training. Building bone and muscle takes time, it takes reps, it takes diligence. So have the mindset of, this is my lifestyle. Okay, even if it is twice a week, think long-term results and think of the improvement in your health. It's not a short-term beach body ready scheme that we're doing. We're trying to build up the human bones in your body. So this should not be taken lightly. Low bone density is not something to mess with. So just to recap what we went over, make sure you're strength training at least twice a week and increase from there. So that's putting stimulus on the muscle. Okay, you're not going to see your bones or feel your bones when you're strength training. You should be feeling the muscle, but I promise you this is contributing to your bone density. And pairing that with a good diet. So get a lot of whole healthy foods in your diet and focusing on calcium rich foods, vitamin D and protein. Like I said, these can all be supplemented if you need to, but start with these things and just go from there and build a plan that you can stick to. Start small and just grow from there. Don't go in 5 days a week and expect to see results within a month. Okay? Start off slow and just build over time. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. If you do have any questions on this, feel free to reach out or comment below. I appreciate every single one of you. As always, if you are interested in coaching, then you can find me on Instagram with the link below. You can also reach out to me there, and there's an application form in my Linktree. If you have any questions you want me to cover on the podcast, again, feel free to reach out. I am an in-person trainer and online fitness coach that I deal with whatever goals you have. If it's muscle building, fat loss, or anything in between, I've got your back. So feel free to reach out, and I hope you guys have a good day, a good week. Focus on one small win every single day, and it's amazing the results you can build. Have a great week, and I will see you guys in the next episode.